Okay, Leafs talk. JD Bunkis, Sam McKee. Embarrassing one for the Leafs. Just no way, no other way to describe that. Just a brilliant first period where I thought this team was really starting to build something here, especially given the third that they just played against Calgary, the way that they just played with a little bit of edge, some passion, some hitting, tenacity, a ton of skill. They were just dominating Vancouver in the first period. And then what the hell happened?
I don't know. I got a few theories.
Start with the first one.
I think, listen, I don't want to sit here and be Mr. Excuse Maker, but I think maybe some fatigue took over. 3 games and what was it, 4 nights now for them on the Western road trip. That first period, they didn't get one to fall. They didn't get a bounce. It didn't go in the net. It was just a discouraging period. Maybe a little bit of fatigue set in for them. That's one of my theories. Another theory is that, it just wasn't very good. They just stopped executing. They were really, really good in the first, like you said, and the crispness of the passes stopped, the scoring chances stopped, just everything stopped. I don't really know. So I think the leading theory is that these guys are dog tired, but I hope that's it, because boy, that was an embarrassing effort.
Like, I get that it's been a bunch of games jammed up together.
Mm-hmm.
It's still really hard for me to think that you play that way against a Canucks team that has essentially been on life support all season long. Like, this game is obviously highlighted by the fact that Toronto gets back on the board on the power play. Mm-hmm. Beautiful feed from Nylander through the legs of the defender, right on the tape of Tavares. He ties it up, and you're going, okay, good. Now this game is going to regulate after, again, that horrific second period where it just, you said it, there was no crispness to their game. It was just sloppy. Nothing. It was lackadaisical. They just did not make plays in that second period. I don't know how many shots they had. I want to say it was like maybe 6, 7 shots in that period. Just completely went to sleep. They get that goal. I think, okay, they're going to turn this thing around. Morgan Rielly draws a penalty in front of their own net. And you go, all right, power play back to work. They just hummed. Vancouver's got the worst penalty kill in the entire NHL. All of the hockey teams, every single what? They do 32 thoughts. They don't do 33, 34 thoughts. They do 32. And Vancouver ranks 32nd. And the first one is just a pizza by John Tavares. Like, I don't know if he was still shook up from the 2 monster hits he took in this game, but he tries to force one into Mitch Marner. It creates a breakaway the other way. It's a 2-on-1. It goes in the back of their net. The second one is just, the Leafs looked like they were rattled from the first goal, that the crowd was on top of them, and they just completely got flustered, broke down. What the hell was Morgan Rielly doing behind the opponent's net? It was such a weird, just all of a sudden it's back in their net the other way. He's given up another 2-on-1. JT Miller scores on Matt Murray. And what seemed like it was going to be a pretty nice night for Matt Murray, one that I wasn't really sure he was getting tested, all of a sudden he's head spinning around. It was just ugly, ugly stuff for tonight, man.
Yeah, I think that's the most frustrating part about this, is that you're in the game after having such an awful effort in the second period. It's still a 1-1 game now.
It's right there.
And you go on that power play, and you'd love to be able to look to something else other than what's let this team down for the last 6 years in these games, in the playoffs and in all these big games that they've played over the years, where, it's the big boys that let them down in big games. And I know this isn't a big game or whatever. I'm not trying to correlate a game against the Vancouver Canucks to a playoff game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. But it's just
on this, though, when it's like, when a game starts that way, where there was a real energy in the building and both teams are playing really hard and hitting each other.
Of course.
Like, yeah, you're right. Of course, we can say that this is a nothing game because it's the Canucks, but you got Go Leafs Go chants going in a road building, and they're playing that actually really great chirp, the piano, and the Leafs.
I love it. Yeah, really good. Really good. I have to give him full marks for that. Very good.
It is a top notch in arena chant. Anyway,
you know what they would do here? They'd be like, when the Canucks are playing, they'd be like, who's the Canucks?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, who cares?
Yeah, but anyway, I get what you're saying. I'm not sorry. I didn't mean to
it's okay.
Step on it. I felt like they actually had a real playoff style to this game early on.
And it goes back to, the conversations that we have about this team in terms of what they've done at multiple different deadlines, bringing in different guys to change the bottom six, change the second pair, change the third pair, do this with the team, do that with the team. And it's just a reminder that it's going to come down to the big boys doing the good things or doing the bad things. And it was just 2 shorthanded goals against the worst penalty kill in the NHL when you have a chance to win a game. But I'm sorry, it's just not acceptable.
No,
it's just something that at an NHL level, when you're a cup contending team, a team that you want to go out there and prove that you're one of the best teams in the league, you just can't have this happen. It's an embarrassing moment for the Leafs and their top guys because they have no one else to blame other than themselves. It's just an embarrassing play by everyone.
It was. So Sheldon Keefe obviously couldn't do this because Ryan O'Reilly, another concerning part of tonight, takes a puck off his hand and doesn't return to the game. Matthews took a shot as well, but finds a way to get back into it. But they're playing 11 forward 7D. So they couldn't do what John Cooper did with his group earlier in the day, which was bench his big boys. But if Ryan O'Reilly's healthy and you're skating 12 forwards, do you think Keefe would have done it?
No, absolutely not. Cause he's never done it. He doesn't do it.
He's like with Mitch at the beginning of the season.
For what? For 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like it's not even close to the same. John Cooper benched his 3 guys that are his 3 best players that he's gone to 3 finals with, or his big studs. He benched them for an entire period.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, say what you will about Sheldon Keefe and say what you will about his relationship with the Stars. We remember earlier in the year, him getting into it. He just doesn't have the cachet to be able to do that. John Cooper's a Stanley Cup winning coach. He's been there forever. He's got the relationship with those guys. When push comes to shove, he just doesn't have, I don't want to say the cojones to do that, but he just doesn't have the cachet. It's not something that he can pull off.
I mean, I will say in Keefe's defense, and it's just simply this, is that it also is such a bigger deal in this market. And when you're trying to build this team chemistry that the Leafs are trying to build right now, which is like, basically on the fly with a bunch of forwards, right? I do think there's a little something to like, hey, he does not have that luxury as like a guy who's been trying to, or who has that line that you just mentioned, has been to 3 Stanley Cup finals together. So I do kind of get it. I will just say that, like, oh man, those guys were bad tonight. Like, that was just a bad performance from the Leafs top guys. And you did feel like, well, is there going to be a little bit of accountability? And they were playing, I guess, a little hard at the very end of the game. And I'm going, boys, fellas, too little, too late. Like, this is just not it.
Yeah. So I'd like to blame anyone else other than what I saw from the big boys, but it comes down to it. They're on the ice for 2 shorthanded goals that cost you the game. And the worst part is, and I don't know what Keefe said to them on the ice. So I've been around hockey a long time. Your PP unit gives up a shorty, it's time to head to the bench. Like, I don't know whose idea that was to leave them out there, or if that's, they get the long as they want, or they get the call or whatever. But if Sheldon Keefe, that's a failure to not be like, hey boys, yep, I think we're good here. I'm going to put the other unit out there, maybe see if they're going to give a little bit harder effort. They're going to try. Yeah. I know it was early in the power play. I know listen, what was it? Like, I'm 20 seconds into that power play. I get it. Like, you want to leave your guys out there, but from an optic standpoint, you might call those boys back. You can still get them on with 30 seconds left. It just was bad optics all around. To have them all standing around again when the second one goes in the net, that's just as bad as it gets.
Okay, so I got to tell you one thing about that I thought, which it's like, this is a hard one because they did add to technically the top 6 in that they added a forward that is one of their best 6 guys in Ryan O'Reilly, and he was hurt. But I actually thought when they went back out on the ice and when they continued to play in this game, that it wasn't, again, a reminder that Toronto is still going to scuffle to find scoring down the lineup. Like, they might have guys that we want to believe are going to be able to score those like playoff style goals that you and I are talking about, and forecheck harder, and that they're a heavier team and harder to play against. I think all those things are true. Like, I'm not trying to overreact to one moment. I'm actually saying that this has been a consistent thing throughout the Leafs lineup, and why Sheldon Keefe can't react that way sometimes is, where else is he going to get the scoring? Who else is he going to put out there? They put the second power play out, and it's Michael Bunting and Alex Kerfoot, and you're going, oh, right. Their second power play includes a guy that we
Eric Gustafsson, buddy.
Yeah, but Kerfoot is a guy that we openly make fun of on the show about how he'll go stretches where it's like 16 goals without a game is like the routine Kerfoot stat where you're like, how many games is it now? It was the joke of the deadline was you've still got this guy playing a prominent offensive role. And I just, that's the one where it stings to me, where some people made the criticism of, did the Leafs do enough? And I kind of backed off that because they did so many things that it's hard to say they should have done more when they moved every little piece around. But it remains that they need that middle six guy with some scoring touch.
Yeah. And it's now gone, and you may be the deadline is now gone, and you may be concerned about what's going on with Ron O'Reilly. I'm not sure if we've gotten an update yet on that.
Not that I've
seen. He took a wrister straight in the finger, so you probably don't love that update. So, you don't know what's going to happen. So we'll wait for that. But yeah, listen, secondary scoring is always going to be a thing with this team, and they're going to need some guys to contribute in the bottom half of the lineup if they're going to beat Tampa, and if they're going to beat Boston, which seems absolutely impossible.
All right. That's too doom and gloom now. What
did
you think about Matt Murray tonight?
No, listen, they're a perfect team. Boston's perfect team. If they lose to anybody, it's a colossal collapse. They don't have one flaw. They're perfect.
Yeah. What did you think of Matt Murray tonight?
He's okay. I thought he looked pretty good. Thought he looked like a goaltender in the net. They hung him out to dry. I thought he kept them in it a little bit in the second period, made a couple big saves, including that cross crease that I thought was the save of the year until they showed a replay. Yeah. Still a great save. Got his pad there, had to make the save. But I thought he was good until they hung him out to dry in the third period.
Yeah, pretty much the same. The first period, again, he didn't even get tested. So I went, what I thought, again, I've made this reference before, but I think about it every time when a goalie has to play that way. It's the Goldberg and Mighty Ducks, where he's just like skating around his net, and singing songs, having a good old time. And then all of a sudden it was exactly like the Goldberg, where there's just a guy barreling down on you on a breakaway. He made that stop. That was a really good save. I will say that, of course. Who was it that was on the Canucks that didn't get the puck up on that 2-on-1?
Dakota Joshua, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was. And yeah, you're right. He definitely, if he puts it basically anywhere else to goal, he kind of rushes it and shovels it into his pad. But Matt Murray, we do wonder sometimes about the athleticism and his ability to just like burst across the net. And he showed it there. And like, this is all I will say, basically, my assessment of the game, because I don't think that he had a shot on any of the goals, right? And even the fourth one, I hate to bring up Luke Shen, but he loses a puck battle and then he looks kind of slow. Morgan Riley in on a forecheck, it just gets completely bamboozled by a forward.
Our boy Shen had zero support from the $7.5 million man who's over in the opposite corner for some reason.
Yeah.
Has he ever been in the front of his own net? Anyways.
Well, it was, two bad plays by Morgan Riley on the back-to-back third and fourth goals. But I didn't think there was a hope and a prayer that Matt Murray had for any of those goals. Maybe if you want to pick at nits, you say like, okay, maybe he makes one miracle save. Well, he already had that with the cross crease save and the breakaway. So I thought he looked good, but my biggest takeaway was just, he looked healthy. Like they bashed into his net and he got up and he never really had any type of lingering, trying to look at my knee, shaking out the leg, like stays down a little long. He went crease to crease really quickly. I think if you're looking for positive signs from tonight, I would say that the number one thing is that.
For sure. He can look like he can go in there and make big pushes and look like he can stay healthy. Completely agree. That is a great positive from tonight. And if they had a shot one in the net at any point, they could have got a win for him. But they just really hung him up to dry.
I don't even know what else to have from this game. Like, what do you think, I guess, about the line combinations that they went with? Like,
well, they just changed everything up and it all got jumbled up, and I didn't really have anything on that. I do like McCabe. I like McCabe. I will say that I like McCabe. I know you're still not convinced, but I like.
It's not that I'm not convinced. It's just like he hasn't really done anything. Like he had a good fight tonight where he jumped in for a teammate, which I love to see. I think he has like. He's got like quick twitch. Like he clearly moves at a really good pace. He got away with a really bad penalty tonight, which was very good for him. Yeah. And I just like, he can snap a pass, but I still think that there's a lot of plays where he just seems like he's still forcing it. So I'm not down on McCabe. I see what they liked about him. So far, I haven't exactly seen a guy that is instilling some kind of different confidence level in me, especially when 2 of these 3 games that the Leafs have played since the deadline have been absolute duds against the Oilers and against the Canucks.
Yeah, and I think he managed to stay. He did. He stayed on the positive side again tonight. So he
Well,
was
I
not on the
mean,
ice.
2 of the goals were power
I
play
know.
goals.
I know, but he wasn't on the ice for the other 2 of them. So he's fitting right in. He's playing his Blackhawks hockey with the Leafs. He's keeping a plus number on an awful team. Good for
I
him.
just picture him just getting to the bench like, like as soon as the good players come out. I do think, again, it's if like there's a issue with him, it's how long is Sheldon Keefe going to play him with Brody? How long is he going to trot that experiment out before he tries a new look? And now we're where there's no more trades coming. Morgan Riley is sticking with a uncomfortable fit unless it's TJ Brody, and that's going to have a trickle down effect if they don't decide to do that. If they do decide to do that. I will say this, no more 7D. Like, I know why they're doing it. I understand it. I am not of the opinion that the Leafs have, quote, 9 defensemen that people keep saying they do. I think they have 7. And I don't.
Well, now you're going to see it more now if O'Reilly's hurt. If he has something that's going to be long term here, you're going to you're short on forwards. You're going to have to play him. Like, I guess you could call up Bobby or call up one of these guys to the Marlies and play him on the 4th line.
All right.
But I bet you see it again.
I like how Bobby you tried to put Pontus Holmberg in the All-Star game on your show for 2 months, and now you've already got Bobby McMahon again ahead of him on the depth chart. I'm not overly concerned about that. I think that if like you need to play Pontus Holmbergs of the world or Bobby McMahons of the world as forward depth, you can do that. You can put those guys in your lineup, especially in regular season games, and still feel okay about it.
Yeah.
I think that the damaging thing is, I don't want to doomcast here because we don't know what's up with O'Reilly. It's just, it's that you're losing valuable reps for some of these other guys to be able to play in the spots that they're meant to play in. I'm not worried about Ryan O'Reilly. Like, we've already seen him step in a lineup and he has great chemistry with the top 6 guys, like on the second line. He can obviously just be a 3rd line center who eats really hard minutes no matter what. I think he's probably one of the easiest guys to play with on this entire team. Like, what chemistry do you have to build? But I just don't like the ripple effect it has for the rest of the group. And, you're kind of waiting on that guy. It would really suck if he was hurt, obviously. Like, really great point by me. What a strong showing. I'm basically the Leafs tonight, just dogging it, where I'm like, what would not be good is if the Leafs lost their prize deadline acquisition.
Well, it's just a hard game to talk about. There was not a lot of great things that happened. I did like McCabe stepping in on Tyler Myers. A couple things. Good. That's going to be in every top 10 hit of the year. That's going to be in there. And secondly,
good on Tavares that he got up.
I couldn't believe he got up so quickly. No. And secondly, I had real flashbacks to my youth with a giant defenseman ragdolling a McCabe. It was like, oh my God, this is Chara McCabe all over again. Like, he just was pulling him around, like he was out front with a dirty mat, just kind of get the dirt out of it, like just flicking it around. So
good on McCabe though. Like, he jumped in there, and I went, hey, that's what you do is you jump in for a teammate when they're laying on the ice. You give them a second and you grab somebody. It was funny though, when he got
10 minutes, right, for the misconduct. And it was because he was the 3rd man in, because Willie Nylander engaged him for a second. I was like, no way Willie's doing this. I'm like, no way. And then I love that too, though, for even so did I. I thought for 1 millisecond it was about to happen. And I was like, no, Willie. It's not you're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
Anyway, horrific game. Awful loss. I don't really have anything else to say about it, man. I'm sorry. This is gonna be a short one, I think.
No, it's all good. Not a whole lot else to say, buddy. We'll see you on Tuesday night.
Awful stuff, man. I will say this, actually. This is a good way for me to wrap is, I see a lot of Twitter panic about this team and how they're looking right now and blah, 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 blah. As embarrassing as tonight was, and as awful game was too, I still think what the Leafs have shown in the first period of tonight's game, period of the Calgary game, has me more encouraged about these moves than like some of the down play that we've seen. Like, you're going to naturally play down to opponents. Again, Tampa Bay tonight, I guess it was against today, played a Sabres team. Like, I get where we're at in the schedule, where it's right after these moves, and there's just so much excitement in Leafland, where people are going, God, we want to see just immediate results, and this team look like they're just ready to roll into the juggernaut that people want them to be. This is not excuse making. I'm just not as concerned. Like if O'Reilly's hurt, that's a concern. I think that Morgan Rielly, who he plays with, that's a concern. Outside of that, like, yeah, I'm not going to really be judging these moves off of 3 games. Like people were panicking because Rasmus Sandin picked up 3 cookie assists.
My God.
Against the Washington Capitals, against the San Jose Sharks. No, of course not. I'm just saying, like, I think that there is a real impetus for people right now to just have hard takes. If you were against some of these trades, you're like, see. If you were for some of these trades, you're like worried. I think we should be taking this in as the old Mike Babcock 5-game sample at a time and see where we're at, 5 games from now versus 10 games from now, and just like how it's actually going to look. That's all.
Let's see if water finds its level here. If we're going to use another Babs term, let's see water find its level. I agree.
All right.
Listen, this is you nailed it. It's a great time for explosive takes on both sides.
I know.
Like the take guns, they're just firing the cannons right now, batting down the hatches. Here comes a mortar of takes. They're just flying around.
I hate that we weren't live tonight though, because that's what people wanted tonight is the old take machine immediately at the gate. Anyways, let's wrap this up. Let's get this up. Thanks to David Sis for editing, and follow at JD Bunkis, at Sam McKee. Hit the like button on it in YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and iTunes. And if you're on Apple, leave a review. It really helps us out. We'll see you Tuesday against the Devils. It'll be Justin Bourne and I. See you then.